Hello everyone. For many Drain Gang fans, Eversince is cherished not just for its beautiful icy instrumentation by White Armor, which perfectly complements Blade's delivery and songwriting, but also for the deep emotions the album evokes. In this video essay, I will discuss how Blade's album Eversince masterfully explores themes of vulnerability, isolation, and emotional detachment. Through tracks from Who Goes There to Skin, Blade offers a raw and unfiltered look into his struggles with depression and his complex relationship with intimacy. By examining the album's haunting lyrics and evocative imagery, I will highlight how Blade's work reflects a deep sense of internal conflict and a desire for connection amidst overwhelming emotional pain, something not just I have resonated with, but many others who have had a positive reaction to this beautiful piece of music too. This exploration not only underscores the personal nature of Blade's music, but also invites listeners to engage with their own vulnerabilities and experiences. Who Goes There opens Eversince with a strikingly maximalist instrumental that immediately sets the tone for the album. In the chorus, Blade reflects on living aimlessly, feeling alone, and finding solace only in the company of a select few. His lyrics express a disdain for the fast-paced world around him, revealing his preference for a slower, more detached existence, aided by drug use as a coping mechanism. The verse delves deeper into themes of isolation and indifference, with Blade describing his behavior during what appears to be a depressive episode. He feels emotionally numb and disconnected from the world, and the pervasive sense of coldness, both literal and metaphorical, intensifies the song's haunting atmosphere. What makes Who Goes There resonate so deeply is Blade's willingness to openly share his feelings of emptiness and detachment. He doesn't shy away from expressing his inner turmoil, instead he brings it to the forefront, offering listeners a glimpse into the raw and unfiltered reality of his emotional state on this song and throughout the rest of the album. His lyrics reveal a conflicted relationship with the world, as he acknowledges his struggles, being a sick man in a distant world, yet his choice to voice these feelings is an act of quiet bravery. This vulnerability is a hallmark of Blade's work beyond this album too. By exposing his pain and coping mechanisms, Blade invites listeners to confront their own vulnerabilities, fostering a sense of shared experience and understanding. However, like many who struggle with depression, Blade is not a perfect victim. He resists outside help, whether through physical affection or prayer, feeling as though he is beyond saving. This is a common experience for those grappling with depression. The overwhelming urge to disconnect and isolate is so strong, and Blade articulates this in his own beautiful and poignant way. So What, as the title suggests, can be seen as an aggressive yet vulnerable response to those who criticize or judge Blade's lifestyle. The song carries a defiant tone as Blade confronts external perceptions with a mix of apathy and resilience. The lyrics convey a sense of rebellion against societal norms, where Blade acknowledges the self-destructive elements of his lifestyle but refuses to apologize for them. He acknowledges his sick mind due to the personal hell he has endured, which I believe contextualizes the content of the song. Blade simply does not care that he is living a self-serving life because he has earned it due to the struggles he has endured. The perceived fear of external judgment provides Blade with a rationalization for his choice to retreat inward, contextualizing his bravado alongside his vulnerability. This fear acts as a protective shield, allowing Blade to justify his isolation and detachment. By embracing a lifestyle that others may criticize, he constructs a barrier between himself and the world, which both defends him from judgment and reinforces his sense of autonomy. In doing so, Blade's bravado becomes a front for deeper insecurities and emotional wounds. His aggressive stance and indifference masks the vulnerability he feels, turning external judgment into a self-fulfilling prophecy. This duality, the outward confidence coupled with inner turmoil, reveals a complex dynamic where Blade's self-preservation is intertwined with his emotional fragility. The guest verse from Echo 2K perfectly complements Blade's emotional, yet indifferent attitude. Echo 2K's lyrics delve into themes of isolation, emotional detachment, and the internal struggle of living a life that feels both glamorous and hollow. He reveals the impact of his deep-seated pain on his ability to express affection. His admission of not knowing how to show love and being closed up like a rosebud illustrates how his emotional wounds have led him to retreat inward. This emotional volatility and the resulting inability to connect with others reflect a profound struggle with vulnerability and intimacy. Lovenote is an emotional track diving into Blade's emotional isolation and detachment. A central theme is that Blade, while possessing the natural craving for love, feels fearful of it as well due to being afraid of potential heartbreak, which in turn leads to him retreating within himself. The song opens with the lines, "Someone free me from my skin, evaporated, now I'm gone in the wind," immediately setting a tone of profound disconnection and existential emptiness. Blade's use of imagery captures the feeling of being untethered and lost. This detachment reflects a deep emotional void, where personal struggles seem to render his previous attempts at connection meaningless. The imagery of a cut throat serves as a powerful symbol of deep emotional wounds and vulnerability. Despite the outward show of strength and the appearance of being unfazed, there is a notable sense of internal pain and fragility. He tells the listener that he cannot let people come close, revealing his fear of intimacy, further underscoring the impact of his emotional wounds. Furthermore, he expresses a willingness to change himself for the better for a love interest, revealing a paradox of how he is wary of love but craves it to the point where he would alter his lifestyle in order to possess it. Missing Person is a haunting reflection on Blade's internal conflicts and his choice to withdraw from the world, exploring themes of fear, self-isolation, and disillusionment. Blade opens the song claiming that he's a missing person, underscoring his sense of detachment and absence from the world. He acknowledges that if someone were to love him, he might end up hurting them, a fear that drives him to retreat, staying behind metaphorical curtains. This imagery suggests a deliberate choice to remain unseen, avoiding the potential emotional consequences of intimacy. Stating that the whole world around him is full of serpents suggests a pervasive sense of distrust, where Blade feels the need to distance himself from those he views as insincere or harmful. The song also touches on his anxieties, which manifest in his reluctance to engage with the outside world. He describes himself as nervous and the reasoning for his isolation disturbing, emphasizing the depth of his unease. The decision to abstain from life because it wasn't working illustrates his sense of futility and resignation, choosing to instead exist in the shadows, unseen and unheard. As the song progresses, Blade hints at a desire for understanding and growth, despite his withdrawal. The line, "I want to know what love is," suggests a yearning for connection, even as he remains hidden. However, his desire is tempered by his acknowledgement that he is too far into his own struggles, indicating that his self-imposed isolation may have reached a point of no return. The metaphor for being just ash now conveys a sense of being burned out, exhausted by the emotional turmoil he experiences. Romeo delves into Blade's self-destructive tendencies and the emotional fallout that affects those around him. The song's central theme is Blade's acknowledgement of how his addiction and depression led him to hurting others, despite his awareness of the consequences. The opening line, "Feel like Romeo, Montclair coat when it's cold," illustrates the idea of how Blade is a tragic romantic figure, someone who, like Romeo, is caught in a cycle of love and destruction. His Montclair coat is an interesting symbol that doubles as a cold, protective barrier he has created around himself, both physically and emotionally, while also being a nod to his enjoyment of high-end clothes. This further emphasizes in the line, "I froze myself, now I'm freezing you," where Blade admits to inflicting the same emotional numbness on others that he feels within himself. This could also be a double entendre for purchasing jewelry for himself and the love interest. Blade's indifference for the feelings of others is evident in the lines like "fuck life and your feelings too, and I'm not feeling you." These lyrics reveal his emotional detachment, a side effect of his depression and substance use, which he uses to numb his pain. The recurring imagery of dripping blood and nightmares coming true paints a picture of a man who is haunted by his actions and the hurt he causes, yet feels powerless to change his behavior. The refrain, "Feel like Romeo," serves as a reminder of his role in the tragic narrative, where love and pain are inextricably linked. The heart of the song lies in Blade's admission that he is in the heart of darkness, a place of deep emotional turmoil from where he cannot escape. His use of drugs as a means to feel something reflects his depression and desire to break through the numbness, even if it means further damaging himself and those around him. The line, "I've been only moving up and leveling, you fucked up again and let the devil in," suggests a cyclical pattern of progress and regression, where any forward movement is undercut by his inner demons. Blade's awareness of the harm he causes is clear in the line, "For me, you don't have to do anything. When I'm in your area, the flowers start withering." Here he recognizes the impact of his presence on others, likening himself to a force that drains the life and beauty from those around him. The imagery of Ice World and everything glittering contrasts with the bleakness of reality, highlighting the disconnect between the superficial allure of his lifestyle and the underlying pain. X-Stout dives into the intertwined themes of isolation, apathy, and vulnerability, reflecting Blade's emotional state as he navigates a world rife with distrust. The refrain, "If you're not bleeding, you're not drained out," symbolizes the emotional exhaustion that defines authenticity in his world, while also alluding to the notion that Drain Gang members are all suffering from their own struggles. Blade expresses a deep mistrust, severing ties with those he can't trust, hinting at his desire to escape the toxicity around him. His apathy is palpable in his acknowledgement of letting others down, while his vulnerability emerges through admissions of losing his way due to destructive coping mechanisms, such as drug use. The betrayal he feels from those close to him further isolates him, leading him to prioritize material gain over emotional connections. Blade's introspection deepens with the haunting question, "My heart, where did it go? Nobody knows," highlighting his emotional numbness and detachment. On Sick, Blade delves into the depths of his depression, highlighting a pervasive sense of indifference that permeates his life. The repetition of "still sick" reinforces the inescapable nature of his emotional and mental turmoil, suggesting a lingering, unresolved pain. The imagery of a shorted zip and blood on his lips paints a bleak picture of indifferent and self-destructive behavior, as Blade uses drugs as both a crutch and a symbol of his disconnection from reality. The mention of a 666 for his wrist and references to darkness and black skies further evoke a sense of despair and entrapment. Despite this, Blade's vulnerability shines through in his admission of not wanting to be seen, revealing his struggle between desire of isolation and the yearning for understanding and connection. The repeated lines and the overall tone of the song create a haunting echo of his internal battle, where he is caught between his sickness and the hope that he might one day find peace. Blade explores a deep depression and emotional detachment, marked by an overwhelming sense of indifference and vulnerability on Rip. The references to being in a psych ward and plugged in with the white bars evoke a sense of being trapped in a cycle of mental instability and substance dependency. The lyrics, "R.I.P. my hopes and dreams, I don't want to wake up," underscore a profound hopelessness where Blade expresses a desire to escape reality entirely. His declaration of being a missing person who has gone off the radar highlights his withdrawal from the world, distancing himself from others to protect his fragile state. The song also touches on themes of betrayal and distrust, with Blade expressing disdain for those who try to infiltrate his small circle, reinforcing his isolation. His reference to selling paper instead of real acid illustrates a nihilistic view of life, where nothing is genuine and meaningful. The repeated lines about not caring further emphasize his apathy towards everything around him. Despite the bravado, there is an undercurrent of vulnerability in his missions of being a junkie and losing his last hope, revealing the pain that lies within his detached exterior. Through these lyrics, Blade paints a bleak picture of life consumed by depression, indifference, and a desperate need to protect his emotional wounds. In Bloodveil Stillborn, Blade and Echo 2K explore themes of depression, emotional detachment, and the search for meaning in a seemingly endless cycle of pain. Blade's section paints a bleak picture of someone who feels emotionally stillborn, numb to the world around him and trapped in a perpetual state of despair. The imagery of the blood sword as his light source suggests that violence and pain have become his only life-guiding forces. His struggle to stay pure amidst the chaos reflects his vulnerability and the constant battle to preserve any sense of self-worth. The recurring motif of detachment with lines like "off 10 pills, now I'm stillborn" highlights the numbing effects of substance use as a coping mechanism for his overwhelming emotions. Echo 2K's verse continues this exploration of disconnection and vulnerability. He reflects on his inability to fully connect with others, illustrated by the lines, "I gotta disconnect when they get too intimate, and maybe in a way I will never feel again." The recurring theme of glitter and glass emphasizes the fragility of his emotional state, while the references to pain such as "it feels like acid rain, every day I feel the same" further underscore the feelings of emptiness and the cyclical nature of his suffering. He also shows the desire to spend money on frivolous items to distract from overwhelming emotions he feels. Ultimately, Blade and Echo 2K express a sense of resignation to their circumstances, acknowledging the pain and isolation they endure while grappling with the desire for something more. On Sugar, Blade's lyrics explore a deep sense of insecurity and vulnerability, manifesting as a desire to consume and possess the essence of another person. The repeated imagery of blood tasting sweet like sugar reflects a yearning for intimacy and connection, yet it is tainted by a predatory need to absorb the vitality of another person, perhaps to fill a void within himself. The demons tell him that he deserves the other person's DNA, highlight his internal struggle with self-worth and the fear that he may become unworthy of love or genuine connection. The lines, "I can't take the truth today, so tell me a fairy tale," underscore Blade's reluctance to confront reality, preferring to escape into comforting lies rather than face his insecurities. His plea, "You don't want me, do you?" reveals his fear of rejection, while the admission, "Wish I never knew you," hints at the pain of unfulfilled desires and the burden of emotional attachment. In Wrist Cry, Blade delves into the depths of vulnerable depression, using the motif of self-harm as a haunting expression for his emotional turmoil. The repetitive chorus of wrist cries symbolizes the physical manifestation of his inner pain, where the blade on his wrist becomes an outlet for the sorrow he feels, making his wrist cry in blood. This imagery poignantly captures the way depression can lead to self-destructive behaviors as he grapples with overwhelming emotions. The lines "flying through the sky, going to a lonely star tonight" depict a sense of escapism, where Blade imagines himself drifting away from reality, seeking solace in isolation. Yet, even as he attempts to distance himself, he acknowledges that someone is still on his mind, indicating a lingering attachment that both anchors and torments him. The contrast between his desire to escape and the inescapable thoughts of this person deepens the sense of internal conflict. The verse, "Blood is on my mind, blade is on my wrist, it makes it cry," directly confronts the listener with the rawness of his pain. The phrase, "I feel like I could die, I feel like I don't care if I survive," reveals the depth of his despair, where the prospect of survival seems indifferent to him, highlighting the apathy often felt in depression. Blade's depiction of himself as a faceless in this kind of situation reflects a loss of identity or purpose, a common experience in severe depression. His nihilistic outlook, expressed in lines like "I don't give a fuck, I get my throat slit," further emphasizes the extent to which he is disconnected from any sense of hope or self-preservation. On Skin, Blade navigates themes of vulnerability, depression, and the longing for connection, all while feeling trapped in an unending cycle of emptiness. The lyrics reveal a deep reluctance to return to a painful place, both physically and emotionally, with the repeated line, "I don't want to go back to that place again," indicating a profound aversion to revisiting past traumas. The sense of permanence in this pain is underscored by "nothing will ever be the same again," suggesting an irreversible change in his state of being. The song's exploration of self-harm and the physical manifestation of inner turmoil is depicted through the imagery of scars on my arms, which serve as a testament to the emotional pain he endures. The repeated phrase, "clean, clean, clean, cut the rope, let me in," hints at a desperate desire for release, perhaps from life itself or from the psychological chains that bind him. The idea of growing wings and going in, paired with the image of falling out of love and apart, suggests a fleeting hope for escape, only to be overshadowed by the inevitable collapse that follows. The motif of skin symbolizes a desire for intimacy and human connection, yet it is tinged with the sadness of never truly winning or experiencing fulfillment, as emphasized by the lines "win, win, win, never was, never been." This line reflects a deep sense of inadequacy and the futility of seeking happiness in a world that feels perpetually out of reach. Blade's depiction of "sinking up to my chin" in the chorus conveys an overwhelming sensation of being engulfed by his struggles, where the weight of his emotions threatens to drown him. The transition from white, 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 gray to black ever since metaphorically represents the gradual loss of innocence in the encroaching darkness that has taken over his life. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the final product, and if you had anything to add or you took away any other meanings of this beautiful album, let me know down in the comments. Thank you.